The United States is marking National Vietnam War Veterans Day, 50 years since its final combat troops left the Southeast Asian nation after one of the longest and bloodiest wars in American history. The anniversary brings back memories of both trauma and relief for prisoners of war held captive until peace accords were signed half a century ago. Benji Hyer with this report.
On August 7th, 1966, now 80-year-old Air Force veteran Michael Lee Brazelton took to the skies for his 111th combat flight.
I always wanted to fly.
Yet that strike mission in North Vietnam would be his last of the war. Under enemy fire, he was forced to eject from his plane, and after miraculously surviving his descent, the highly decorated pilot was captured by the People's Army.
I think they thought they killed me. And I stood up with my hands raised, and they were all surprised. You know, they looked around, you not hit or anything. Yeah, no, nothing. Still had my sunglasses in my pocket, so yeah, I was in good shape.
But not for long.
I became a POW. John Brodak back here, who was my leader the day I was shot down, he became a POW. Ron Bliss became a POW, and Jim Kassler, who was an ace from Korea, he became a POW. He was shot down just the day after I was.
Michael was imprisoned for almost 7 years, months of which was spent in solitary confinement. With no contact to the outside world, he was interrogated and tortured.
We're the only Americans they can get their hands on, so every time there's a bombing raid or something, they take it out on us. You could end up in stocks, your feet in stocks, in handcuffs behind your back, for weeks, literally weeks.
When his countrymen were eventually pulled out of Vietnam in 1973, Michael was safely repatriated.
From our point of view, it was about time. My mom and sisters were really happy to see me. I have a picture of meeting them for the first time. I'm much luckier than a lot of other soldiers and airmen were.
Indeed, not everyone was so fortunate. Close to a fifth of the hundreds of prisoners of war died in captivity. The US's involvement in the Vietnam War was bloody and controversial, with millions of citizens protesting against intervention at the time. But many of the almost 60,000 Americans killed in the line of duty and memorialized here are still considered national heroes, as are a great deal of those who made it back alive. Just this month, President Joe Biden awarded retired Army officer Paris Davies the Medal of Honor for his bravery and gallantry exhibited in Vietnam, rescuing his troops wounded in battle.
You're everything our nation is at our best. Brave and big-hearted, determined and devoted, selfless and steadfast. American. American.
Yet America didn't fight this alone. Alongside them, the South Vietnamese sought to overcome communist forces to the north. When the US military departed before the war's official end, First Lieutenant Shi Huang felt his side was destined for defeat.
We were betrayed by Americans. And I talked to a lot of American soldiers. And they looked at me and they said, nothing else we can do because our hands were tied. And he told me, if you have a chance to get out, get out.
Fearing for his life, he did just that, frantically fleeing with his family, escaping to the United States and working his way from the bottom up.
It's quite easy because I speak a little bit English and I'm willing to do anything to make a living. Doesn't matter what kind of job.
He eventually settled near the capital, an area where 80,000 Vietnamese immigrants and their descendants reside, including 99 of his relatives. She's visited his beloved home country several times in decades past, and Michael has since returned to Vietnam too, expressing utmost respect for its people.
Sometimes hard to believe that we ever went to war with them, but we did.
Benji Hyer, CNA, Washington, D.C.